Everybody, welcome to Webinar Wednesday. My name is Martin Lovers. I'm the Chief Trend Watcher of Supply Chain Media. I'm also the Editor-in-Chief of Supply Chain Movement, the quarterly magazine and bi-weekly newsletter. And I'm also the architect of the IT Supplement Map. We'll discuss this later on. But because we are talking about transport management systems today. So we have three experts next to myself, and we'll talk about end-to-end transport management systems. So how is it useful in this turbulent world? So in this live webinar in the next 60 minutes, like I said, we have a conversation with three experts. You see me on the left, and next to me we have Michael Buckle from Alpega. Michael, welcome.
Many thanks having me. Pleasure being here. So Michael Buckle, my name. I'm meanwhile more than 2 decades in the supply chain technology space, and I'm still passionate about it. So during my career, I had the chance to support several customers, more than 100, by the way, by implementing their logistics processes, organizations, and also, of course, systems, which is the topic of today. At Alpega, I'm responsible for our strategic alliances and for our consulting team.
Yes.
Looking forward.
Yes, thanks. And next we have Maurits Jongens. He's managing director of the TMS at Caroz, and you have also a background at another company now integrated in Caroz. But maybe you can explain yourself, Maurits.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Maurits Jongens, managing director TMS at Caroz. Been in the business now for 11 years. Started as a project manager for the company. Before that, worked at PostNL and TNT Express. After being a project manager, I became responsible for operations about 7 years ago. And as Martijn mentioned, indeed, formerly company's been existing since '92, and it's formerly been known as Infomore, and is now part of Caroz since 3 years. We're very happy about that, and we'll tell a bit more about that later on.
Yeah. All right, and finally, last but not least, Rob Hazekamp. Welcome from Oracle. Rob, maybe you can introduce yourself briefly.
Yeah, thank you, Martijn. My name is Rob, and 20 years experience as well in the TMS space, and 11 years at Oracle, and I look after the OTM business. That's our name for our TMS. And I look after the OTM business for Europe, and I also help our customers with the transportation management strategy and setup. So very happy to be here.
Okay, so thanks. Some household rules. So this webinar will be recorded. The PDF will be made available within 48 hours. So you will get a notification about that. So the audience is on mute, but you can interact with us. So basically, there are two ways to interact. You see the chat function on the right-hand side, and you can comment, etc. But basically, just below you see the two text bubbles with the Q and the A. Please use the Q&A functionality if you have questions to one of these experts. And if these questions are in line of the conversation I will be having, I will ask these questions right away, so you can have kind of a direct conversation with the four of us. So that's how to deal with it. And next to this 60 minutes, we also have an extra 30 minutes in a virtual lounge. So that's how it looks like. So right after this 60 minutes, we have an extra 30 minutes, so you can sit down at a table. We will have 3 tables, so one for Alpega, one for Caroz, and one for Oracle. So you can sit down with these 3 experts right after this. So you have the opportunity to have a further conversation. All right. As of this moment, I will put off my camera, and probably the rest also, because then you can have a better look on your slides. You can enlarge your slides, so then you have a better view of all this. All right, what's happening in the world, that is an outside-in look. So basically what you see here is what CEOs are talking about in their quarterly earning calls. So basically a German startup scale-up has created this overview. They scraped it, basically this based on a transcript of the quarterly earning calls of Fortune 500 companies, so the bigger ones. But it's quite interesting to see that as of 2020, supply chain is on the top of mind. So CEOs are actually talking about the freight supply chain. And if you look at it on the right side, that is a high intensity, so that's a log scale. So that's the importance. So imagine on the right is very important. That's an exponential scale, and you see it also. It's a comparison between last quarter, so quarter on quarter. So supply chain is slightly lower compared to last quarter, and it's quite interesting to see a year ago, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, CEOs were going to talk about JetTBT, so they even know what it was all about, or even had to the knowledge to pronounce it at least. So basically, what you see here, all kind of bubbles, what they are talking about. In the upper right, that is the most talked about. So geopolitical uncertainty is on their agenda, economic concerns worldwide, AI, but also sustainability, and generative AI as a bubble is also there. So that's basically what's happening in the world. And if you translate it into supply chain, so I think that the world won't be the same since COVID. As you see here, you see a lot of black swans, or maybe people could have expected it, but you had COVID with all kind of consequences, lockdowns, shortages, bullwhips, inflation, etc. The war in Ukraine already 2 years ago, still going on, sadly enough, leading to gas shortages and also cost increase, etc. And as of October last year, you have the Gaza conflict leading to the blockage in the Red Sea, and also leading to all kind of disruptions. And CBAM, you have the CSRD, it's a sustainability legislation for companies who are publicly traded. But as of October last year, if you had the cross-border as administrative methodology, basically when you import stuff from the Far East, you have to pay carbon tax on your stuff. So basically, that's also kind of new. So basically, this is the whole environment we're talking about. So starting with you, Michael. So what are you facing? What are your customers talking about if you look at this picture?
Yeah, basically, looking at this picture, the main topic we are discussing with our customers is resilience. So how can they generate a supply chain that is really resilient, or in other terms, also how can they work into the direction of anti-fragile supply chain? So that's hot topics. A lot of customers discuss with us and ask for support, also from a transportation perspective, of course.
Yeah, and Maurits, I know that Caroz, you are delivering a TMS on one hand, but you also have a control tower where you manage the supply chain for your customers. So what do you see from that perspective if you look at this picture?
Well, definitely from our control tower, we see a lot of extra effort that's needed to get shipments to their destinations. Of course, most recent, the whole Red Sea issue has been an urgent one, and certainly having an impact on our control tower operations as well. As well as for our TMS only customers, we see kind of the same thing as Michael was stating, that visibility is key in order to be able to come to an alternative solution if that's needed, and do that quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Rob, last week we had the drama of the in Baltimore port where a ship was hitting some pillars on a bridge. Has that a large impact on the supply chains in the US or around the world? What is your view on that?
No, of course, it impacts the business, and the same as with Suez and lockdowns and so many other disruption examples we saw and we are still seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you need to build a bridge. What you normally see as control towers or supply chain planning and supply chain execution are often pretty isolated processes. So from planning, okay, we can build a plan and we think we can create some flexibility. But I think it's also key to really link a technical plan and translate that in the right execution setup, and also being able to rapidly adopting new changes required, especially with the longer lead times of ocean at the moment. So it is basically an issue of what we all constantly see here, and creating flexibility and doing more in-house in order to support that flexibility is something we see in the market.
Okay, thanks. So this is a recent survey end of last year done by Capgemini and KRC Research. So there's a need for supply chain visibility. So companies, they do have their supply chain process in place, but look at the 21%. Only 20% of the respondents have their systems to do an excellent job regarding supply chain visibility. That's one major take of this survey. And next, finding the right talent. So we get to that later point, because can AI help in all this? So that's another point. We'll do it at the end of this webinar. Another interesting finding is one by Laura Caceres. She's an analyst and founder of Supply Chain Insights. She is doing a lot of surveys, but also on visibility. Basically, she dissects visibility in 4 kind of process streams. It's manufacturing visibility. Do you know what's happening in your factories, etc.? Supplier visibility. Do you know what's happening at your suppliers? So upstream. And the next one, logistic visibility. That's in the warehousing, in the transportation, upstream, downstream, between the links in the chain. You see visibility needs. So basically what this graph is saying, 4.1 logistic visibility is the importance on a scale from 1 to 5, and the effectiveness up till now is 2.9. So basically what she's saying, there's a huge gap in logistic visibility, and even also enterprise visibility that's internal in your ERP system. Do you know the order status, sales order status, that kind of stuff? So what you see overall, there's a lot of gaps in visibility, but focusing on logistic visibility, there's also a major gap. And that's probably where there's a need for transport management systems, and maybe also for WMS, but depending if you have your own warehouse. So look at it. Now we created this ecosystem overview to have a better understanding of all the participants in the ecosystem. So basically, before COVID, we have a stable world, I would say, and then we have a linear supply chain of raw materials, manufacturing, wholesale, and then going into retail and into the customers. This is household products, consumer products. But as you see here, there are a lot of pressures from governments, NGOs, investors, banks, social media, NGOs, etc. So that's from one side, but also you see all kind of subcontractors, and now it's becoming even more complex with the circular economy and the need for getting more sustainable. So Mikael, if you look at this picture, so there are a lot of arrows between the boxes, and that's representing all the transport, and you see even logistic service providers, carriers, freight forwarders. Where is the highest needs for transport management solutions from your side?
Well, so I would say it depends. It depends a little bit, of course, on the industry and on the maturity level of the customer. But in a quite general way, where we see the biggest need is really synchronization of the data flow with the material flow. So you see it's a very complex picture, and exactly this in a cross collaboration environment is really where a TMS can help. So bringing together those different bricks and pieces, yeah.
Yeah, it is a complex picture, but even it's a simplification of the real world. So you can imagine, each box it's not one entity. You have several suppliers of packaging. You have several carriers, and so on and so on. So if you look at it, Maurits, what is your take on this picture? So where is the highest need if you look at all those arrows on flows of goods and data?
Yeah, if we see prospects that we're talking to and current customers, I think an important topic, and that kind of aligns with what Mikael said, is, for instance, to make it more concrete, in stock or stock in transfer or in transit, to actually be able to plan that for your outbound deliveries when it's still in transit. That's an important one for many customers and very hard to manage still for many of them.
Yeah.
But also on the outbound for many e-com flows, we still see quite some need for cargo owners to have their own track and trace possibilities and their own track and trace environment for end customers and also for B2B solutions.
So Rob, we will discuss it later because Oracle has a whole range of applications in the cloud, all connected. So you can imagine kind of a cloud overhead this whole environment. You need it to have it in synchronization.
Yes, that's true. And what we also saw, especially during COVID, that is, and also especially in North Europe, many customers they were relying on a highly outsourced model.
Yeah.
And so what they experienced, and that's nice pictured in this puzzle, is that they miss completely any control or insight or visibility on where's my stuff. And how to avoid the next one, what's the best route to take, what is the most greenest logic into this puzzle. So therefore, gaining back more control, and TMS can help the market with this, of course. But that's really something we see. So gain back more control to really optimize the puzzle itself. Yeah.
So I spoke to the VP supply chain of Procter & Gamble last year, and he told me that Procter & Gamble is taking their own logistics in the UK. So they have bought their own electronic fleet of trucks, and they have done their own TMS. I don't know which system, but basically, they took over from the 3PL companies they had outsourced before because they want to do their own. And there's a high pressure and a high need, so that's something what we see that and the 3PL companies should digitalize more and more, even so to provide this kind of data and insights. So stock in transit, ETAs, that kind of stuff. All right. So, like I said, I'm the architect of the SCM IT software map. This is the software map of last year. So we are busy right now updating for this year. That will be published in Q2 of this year. Basically, what this slide is representing is an overview of supply chain software vendors in Europe. And you see all kind of lines. Basically, the black line is ERP, the red line is WMS, and the purple line is transport management, and the green one is real-time transport visibility. So that's how I explain it. So there are a lot of vendors. We know there's a Gartner with all the quadrants. Basically, this is a combination of these quadrants, but we do our own analysis and we have our own methodology. When you zoom in, you see different kind of players here. From left to right. So Caroz, that is a niche player from the Netherlands and now expanding. Alpega, they have a broader footprint, I would say. And look, Oracle, we all know Oracle has an even larger footprint. So that's basically what it represents, this picture. And there's also an interactive version. So if you go to the itsoftwaremap.com, you click on a line and you see only the vendors that have proven track record on a certain service line, call it TMS, for example, and then you'll find the ones with an actual proven track record on a higher extent. So basically, companies have to have a certain percentage of implementation to get a subway station on a certain line. Otherwise, everybody could say, I can do this. Like all the vendors, I can do anything. But then again, then this super map wouldn't have any meaning, and it will be a circle of 16 parallel subway tracks. So this is what it represents. First, I would like to ask Michael. So Alpega, let's start from an alphabetical order. So Michael, can you explain your platform?
Absolutely. So let's take the subway to Alpega now. And basically, Alpega Group is not just a TMS. So it's a digital transportation platform. What does that mean? So we are combining an end-to-end TMS, which is designed for cargo owners, with around about 100 million transport orders a year, with a truly open and trusted carrier network. And that's our freight exchange. On the freight exchange, we have around about 80,000 carriers, and we trade around about 350,000 loads a day. So that's this combination where we bring together these two bricks into the digital transportation platform. And what that makes obviously is for the freight forwarders, for the freight owners, basically, that's a direct access to freight capacity, and that enables at the end, of course, operations of resilient supply chains and helps driving down freight costs and inventory costs. And in addition to that, of course, so that was the freight owner, the cargo owner side, and of course also there's something in for the carriers, because they get additional business, they get the business they need, and by that they can utilize their fleet better, and that's kind of what our digital transportation platform does for them.
Miguel, can I ask you, about this freight market? So that's more like a spot market, I would say. So how many days in advance are you planning something on this kind of freight exchange?
On the freight exchange, that's quite short term. That's true. That's more days.
Okay.
It's I would say within a week usually. Yeah.
But if I look at a cargo owner, I think that most of them, they have the majority of their transport is in lanes, and they have contracts. So just a minority, 10-15%, something like that, is on the stock market, on the spot market.
Yeah, that's right. So that's what we see. So from a cargo owner perspective, that's maybe 10-15%. But the partners that are trading on the freight exchange is the freight forwarders and the carriers.
Yeah.
So that's the main trade lanes in the freight exchange. Yeah.
Okay. Then please explain your TMS solution. Why is it end to end, and what do you consider end to end?
Yeah, happy to define that. So, if you move to the next slide, so there for us this end to end definition. So for us, end to end means all flows. So that means inbound flows, intercompany flows, and outbound flows. So that's one part of the definition. Of course, we handle all modes of transport: road, air, ocean, parcel, whatever. And we see it from an end-to-end process perspective. So that's quite important as well. And it starts with a planning perspective. So network optimization, that's really where our customers start to design their optimal transport network. Where should a hub be? So greenfield, brownfield approaches, and also considering not only transport costs, but handling costs, inventory costs, and so on. So that's really the starting point very often. And out of this, very likely, you need, of course, to source your carriers. So that's then the strategic sourcing part. There, as you mentioned before, it is the contracted freight typically. So the long-term contracts, 1 year up to 3 years. And this feeds into the tactical planning, where you are 2-3 months before the transport typically. And there you optimize your frequencies of the transports. You choose the best way through the network, meaning modes of transports. Optimization is then the main topics optimized there. And after the tactical planning, then we really go into the execution. We start here again with an optimization aspect. So that's the point in time where you really have a transport order. You know what has to be transported from A to B, in which dimensions, weight, volume, whatever. And there we once again check against the tactical plan if, for instance, a full truck is really utilized accordingly. And if not, the planner now can redefine the model, for instance, from a full truck to a milk run concept. So that's what's happening here. That's within a week again. And of course, then also options to spot source if you don't have contracted freight. So that's the spot sourcing option. And then hopefully everything is picked up and you go into the execution. The carrier is assigned. Here the real-time tracking plays into the game, of course, with the RTV providers we use. And finally, after the proof of delivery, we go into the freight cost management, so freight audit and pay. in order to ensure that the right freight rates with the right and correctly executed transports are finally then paid. So that's this end-to-end picture.
Yep.
Of course, surrounded by advanced analytics. So it helps to really have that data at one place and analyze it in order to optimize again. And there are some quite nice modular solutions. So dock scheduling, for instance, really how to balance the flow of of trucks onto your yard and also balance your resources regarding docks. That's something that is a modular solution. And we also have, and that's quite specific on the market, a reusable packaging management. That's really for supply chains where the packaging is reused. So also the term circular economy, where you reuse your packaging, is quite important. And here we have a specific solution, which is basically an inventory management for packaging, and then feeds back into the flow. So of course, the empties needs to go back in your transport flow. So that's.
And can you also use this kind of module for pallets or bins or trolleys and that kind of stuff?
Exactly. So the pallets, I would say, is the packaging with the lowest value in our packaging solution. It's going up to I think the most expensive packaging is a 400K specific container. So that's the range. Yeah.
And I see also you have a single leg and multi-leg. So basically you can combine it. So because that in the old days it was just inbound or outbound transport management, and now you can even arrange it multi-leg. So that's makes it more, I would say, complex or more integral.
Definitely, and of course it's modular. So we also use it for customers that have not too complex supply chains. So they operate, and for instance, just in a single leg mode. But for larger complex supply chains, it's really end to end, and therefore you need definitely also multi-leg operations. Yep.
The model of dock scheduling, it's quite interesting because I think a lot of companies see the yard or the docks as a blind spot, but actually it's sometimes a vital link for the operations in a warehouse or outbound. So I think that is something some companies don't have a grasp on. It's where TMS and WS meet, so you have to align it, otherwise your whole process can go haywire.
Definitely. So if you miss the link between the TMS and the WMS, and the yard is messed up, you also have a problem, and that's definitely something a lot of customers, especially if you have larger sites or premises, it's simply required. So one of our customers, he simply was not finding his trailers back on his yard. So it was real-time visibility on the yard, I would say, was the keyword there.
And in your next final slide, you talk about with some customers and also on different kind of levels of usage of TMS.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we look into the different scenarios and why our customers approaching us, so level one is mainly about, I would say, execution, and the key topic they want to solve is at first really harmonize their transportation processes and gain visibility. So that's really I would say the basics, and of course a TMS can help there. So what we saw, but it's several years ago already, that simply implementing a standard TMS execution only and freight cost management really helps already driving down freight costs, because you pick and choose the right carrier, you invoice according to your rates. So that was really a very nice case without any optimization. So that was really just harmonization and visibility. And The second level then is, and that's a topic we see more and more on the side where a customer has a higher maturity level. That's then improved productivity. So improved productivity is then really about supporting growth on the one side, and on the other side, increase efficiency. And of course, that's only possible if you start optimizing your transport. So then you need to have a look into the utilization of trucks. You need to consolidate your transport somehow. So that's one aspect. So you really need to drive down your transport costs in your network. And the second topic is then, and that's mainly then the efficiency part, you need to automate your processes. Otherwise, you can't survive the growth. So that was a main driver also we saw with the colleagues from Mondelez. So we are supporting them since 15 years now. And we could just help them by really on the daily operations optimize the transports in order to support their growth, and that basically with the same set of colleagues in the control tower. So
yeah,
that was quite impressive.
And the third company I'm seeing is Agco. I know quite well, a manufacturer of tractors, and they have survived the COVID miraculously well because they were all prepared. But maybe you can explain what they are doing with your TMS.
Yeah, for sure. So this resilience portion. So how to create resilience. So that's then the next level. You need to really prepare. You prepare contingency plans for, I would say, common disruptions. By that you can at least prepare for some of them, but you also create kind of a higher flexibility and agility in your organization when you start modeling out such scenarios. So by that, of course, at the end, you need to diversify your transport modes and your carrier base and start developing and strengthening strategic carrier partnerships. So that were the key measures supported by our TMS. And the great thing was really that even in such uncertain times, they could improve their network performance, mainly the on-time delivery by 25%, while reducing their inbound supply chain costs by a double-digit number. So that's really quite impressive what they could do together with us.
And the last one.
Yeah, the last one. So sustainability, of course, and one really nice example here is Pernod Ricard, and looking into this perspective of sustainability and sustainable supply chain. It starts with measuring, of course, but it really comes more and more really into operations. So sourcing, planning, and execution is not only driven nowadays by costs anymore. It's really also decided and driven more and more by emissions values. And Pernod Ricard is starting really in the sourcing, in the transport sourcing processes already. And they simply source carbon emissions preferred over costs. And that leads to the status quo that meanwhile they are 100% emission neutral in their domestic distribution. And that's quite impressive what they did.
Yeah, and if I look at all these logos, they are mainly cargo owners.
Yep.
Shippers. I hate this word, but cargo owners. But I also see Kuehne Nagel, so it's a 3PL company. So you are on both sides, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. So with the TMS, we are mainly cargo owners, but for the larger forwarders, which operate also more or less as 4PL managed service, there our TMS, of course, also has a fit.
Okay. Thank you, Mikhail. So Maurits, maybe you can explain your proposition from Caroz.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, of course. So our TMS has been around for quite a long time, since '92. So over 30 years of experience. And in our in-house development team, there's at least one person that's been there since the start. Other ones have plus 20 years experience within the company. So we have experience in implementing our TMS in many different industries, and have developed many different building blocks over the years. Within the company, we have 150 people working in 3 offices. Our development team is stationed in Hilversum, where I am at the moment as well. And we have offices in Rotterdam and Venlo, and 5 offices in China. Those are mainly focused on operational support for shipments, ocean shipments coming from Asia towards the rest of the world, as briefly mentioned earlier. Serving over 150 customers. And I think a big advantage now is that we have our own control tower with analysts, operators, tender specialists that can help our customers not only with the IT part of their logistics challenges, but also support them operationally. And we see a lot of customers that come to us and ask for hybrid solutions. So, for instance, for their outbound, they want a full TMS implementation, and they have their own crew manning that TMS. And for inbound, we offer them operational support as well. Sustainability is a big topic. CO2 reporting and calculation is integrated in the system recently. And I think it's important to mention that, well, as you mentioned, we're not as big as other TMS companies, but it does make us very flexible and our system easy to customize. So many building blocks have been developed over the last 32 years. And we can all use them to make a solution that properly and really fits a specific customer.
And a question about ESG or the carbon footprint.
Yeah.
So, do you do it yourself, or do you have a partnership with some carbon footprint data provider?
We have a preferred supplier currently that we're using. That's certified. So we use that partner, but we also leave it to the cargo owners using the system to make a different choice if they so prefer. So we use an interface for that.
And final comment about the ROI. Do you still see a lot of need to calculate what the benefits of a TMS is, and what are the tricks to do this calculation positively?
Yeah, actually, it's not always the case anymore, but we do still see actually also quite a few companies where there's no TMS implemented at all. Even bigger companies that you would not expect it of. But for those companies, still a question. Okay, what exactly will it bring us? And of course, also get a clear picture of the benefits. So we always try also to support there and give them a clear picture of, okay, this is what it can bring you, and how quickly are we going to see that return on investment. Yeah.
So basically, the trick to me is, when you are selling supply chain software to the board, don't talk about productivity gains and you need half of your FTEs, whatever. Just talk like the CFO. Talk about working capital, or talking about lost sales or missed sales, that kind of stuff. Then they will listen. So that's basically how you should design your ROI calculation pitch.
Yeah, definitely part of it as well. Yeah.
All right. Maybe you can explain how it's all created together, and what is underneath the hood.
Definitely. So what you see here is also kind of a typical system landscape of the system of the TMS. Especially on the left-hand side, you'll see connections towards the company internal systems of cargo owners. On the right-hand side, all the connections to LSPs, but also other ecosystem partners where they are useful or needed. Especially on that connection towards company internal systems, we go far. So connect to many cargo owners using SAP, but also other ERP systems like Infor. to get the orders from those systems, but also to feed back information towards ERP, and also to get information on the status of orders and shipments within the warehouse from the WMS, but also to actually instruct WMS on what consolidation the order has become part of, and in what truck it needs to be loaded. So that's also connected back to what you mentioned earlier. We have a dock management function as well, a dock planner, but of course that's only really useful and efficient if the warehouse is also aware of where those articles and those pallets need to be placed for the pickup by the carrier. You see the main blocks on the bottom. So transport procurement, all the management of all the carrier rates and transit times and additional costs, order management, performance management, and freight bill auditing. And what it brings our customers in essence is cost reduction. So by consolidating orders, using our load building functionality to make sure that we make use of a truck until the fullest, choose the right carrier for the right job, saving time in planning, communicating with all the different stakeholders. We can also make a serious cost reduction possible. Show that also for an example account in the next slide. Visibility is a very important topic. Well, especially with the market circumstances that you've mentioned earlier today, you can imagine that for a lot of customers, it's very important to have real-time information on where their goods are, and also on if they have that information to be able to act upon it. So the system provides real-time dashboards. It provides track and trace options for cargo owners, for their customers. As mentioned, dock management, but also management reporting, and many different ones, and feeding into BI environments of customers. And finally, of course, the self-billing part connected to the freight bill auditing. Well, we see that also is a very important one for many customers, because we see at cargo owners, transport costs are usually third biggest cost within the company, but also usually one with the least control and the most difficulty to check all the invoices. We have quite some examples where it's just a matter of doing some different checks and not being able to fully check all the invoices. So that's the main functions that we deliver within the TMS. And then going to the next slide, we have a good example. So one of our customers that we serve is Samsung Electronics. We've been serving them for over 16 years now, so for quite some time. And they actually make use of the full suite of our transport management system. So that's the procurement manager for managing all the carrier contracts. So that's mainly their own contracted rates and transit times. There is an option from the system to use spot market functions as well. Then, of course, our shipment manager, the main module for planning and order management, including consolidation, load building, carrier selection and carrier selection logic, full visibility by carrier interfacing, and as mentioned earlier, ERP, in this case SAP and WMS interfacing. So we do this for their end-to-end supply chain, so including inbound, outbound, returns, and e-commerce, which is quickly growing because their own web shop is attracting more and more traffic. And they've reported significant benefits. For instance, what you see below here, 40% increase in average shipment size, because of the possibility to consolidate orders and to actually also take into account minimum shipment sizes before shipping them out. Increase in load factors, because before TMS there was no visibility and there was a lot of line hauls driving half empty daily while that wasn't needed. So giving that visibility and insight, we were able to increase load factor significantly. And finally, by automation, making the whole process more efficient for planning, for customer service, but also for finance in invoice checking.
So I get some questions from the audience, but I suggested that we'll go over to Rob. So Rob, maybe you can explain what are the benefits for end-to-end transport management.
Yes, yes. Can you hear me? I think yes. You won't implement a TMS for the fun only, Martijn. So,
No.
what are the strategic value drivers? In our view, as we discussed earlier, agility and business flexibility is key in today's climate, and especially with all disruptions we experienced. And besides creating that in a flexible and adaptive platform, the value really concentrates on the 3 C's. So starting with improving your customer service, with offering full visibility and a more reliable execution. And at the end, as you say, at board level, it's all about cost and inflation pressure. So how to lower and controlling your freight costs in the most optimal way. And we have an excellent track record with savings. So we save approximately between the 4 and the 8% on the annual freight spend. And what's becoming more dominant, and last but not least, is of course sustainability and lowering your carbon footprint. Find greener ways of shipping and adapt to green logics throughout the whole order life cycle. So so that's very important. And on top of this, we also support global standards for like lag reporting for the required emissions calculations. It's an important topic, and even if you don't manage day-by-day execution, maybe you outsource that to a 4PL. There are also several ways to gain back control of your own data, and being able to play with tactical planning or play with sustainability considerations.
So you mentioned savings of up to 8% of the overall transport costs. Is it a rough number, or do you have different ways of calculating the ROI of this kind of implementations?
Yes, we have of course a consultancy department. So what we do also in a pre-sales RFQ engagement, we also assess based on the overall process maturity level of a customer. We assess their maturity, and then we know from our experience, based on market best practice we saw within the market with our tool, we can easily assess if you bring a certain capability in on a certain level, then we know what kind of savings potential there is. And we also do sometimes POCs with customers' data, that we can easily show how much they can drive savings with a capability like planning. Yeah.
Right. Maybe you can explain a bit, what kind of customers you are servicing around the world, but especially in Europe.
Yeah. We are the largest TMS vendor in the market, and we have around more than 800 customers, cargo owners as a customer. And also within multiple industries. So if I may highlight some European names, like some large CPG companies like Unilever, Kraft Heinz, Henkel, brewing companies like Coca-Cola and Heineken, in automotive, Toyota, Case New Holland, Mazda, in steel business, ArcelorMittal and SCM, and of course many other industries, as you can see. What I would like to highlight is that besides supporting all the industries, we can also easily start small. And so we also can easily support smaller sized customers with just a couple of million freight spend to manage, up to large companies with a couple of billions of freight to manage. So we are flexible in this. And also, we are ERP agnostic. So we are a dedicated TMS vendor within the Oracle Tech Powerhouse. And for example, if you look to our net new names in Europe, I think 70% of them, they run an SAP ERP. So we are ERP agnostic. Yeah.
Okay. And not to be very critical, but I see similar or sometimes even the same logos here compared to Alpega, but the Heinekens of this world are very big. So it's also a bit fragmented on the cargo owner side, isn't it?
No, so it depends. Some of them are running global programs to standardize. So and sometimes they rely on a couple of systems, and sometimes they have acquired a system a long time ago.
Yeah,
it depends. Yeah. Depends.
So Oracle, you have invested since already, I think, more than a decade in cloud solutions. Maybe you can explain what it all brings, because sometimes people are not convinced of the cloud, but maybe you can convince them and tell them what's in it for the OTM and also the global trade part of it.
Yeah, thanks for highlighting this, because cloud is fundamental, I think, in the business agility and flexibility. So we call, by the way, our TMS Oracle Transportation Management Cloud, and this has been our market-leading application for 17 years already, and validated both by analysts and, more important, by our customers. And what does OTM? It supports global cargo owners by delivering a single instance of software where we manage all modes of transportation, inbound, outbound, intercompany, and last mile. And it's also interesting to highlight is that the world is becoming more complex. So we could also include global trade management into this game to support export compliance and customs and trade processes. And from a TMS point of view, it really starts with order management, and then we bring the advanced planning and optimization capabilities in for day-to-day operations, as well as more tactical what-if type of requirements. And then, of course, then we follow this. We have shipment execution, the booking of the transport, and capturing all the events. And of course, we also close the loop with the finance processes such as settlement and cost allocation. And what is really helping for other industries and other customers is that we have such a large install base, and our implementation partners are very experienced in how to support the business in the best way, with out of the box implementation workloads, really to speed up the implementation approach in general, and based on those market best practices to really secure a fast implementation with a healthy ROI. That's basically how we run it, and I'm also happy to give you more insight in how a flexible cloud setup could look like. So if you can move to the next slide, Martijn.
Yep.
And because that agility is, of course, the main key strategic driver of many of our customers, and being open and flexible is so important. And our cloud strategy is fundamental in this, and we deliver our cloud, our whole solution, basically as a self-driving car. It is including the full maintenance, and we run, as you know, maybe our own data centers enriched with AI and ML logic. So we can just deliver this as a service for a monthly fee, and also with fixed fees. So it's just really the full stack is managed by Oracle, and we really advantage the tech side of Oracle with an R&D budget of more than 6 billion per year. And as you can imagine, data is part of our DNA, and data is crucial also to highlight the other big thing in TMS is the data is the fuel for the emerging technology to drive new innovation areas. So the whole idea is we can plug these into OTM, So we have capabilities such as chatbots for sharing track and trace information in a new way, just sending a WhatsApp message to the application, and then the system will respond. As well as machine learning capabilities. Machine learning is not a buzzword, it's already in. For example, to improve and better predict the expected time of arrival. And you also may expect embedded analytics is also part of the core, and all supported with AI and ML capabilities. But being open and flexible is also important. So also with complementary partners, we work with partners like carrier marketplaces or connectivity providers. We can just plug them into OTN. They all rely on the same REST API connection, and our customers really appreciate the flexibility to select the most appropriate partner per mode per region. And and all customers, if you are small, big, you all work with the same version. So that really helps in the overall terms of value and connectivity in general.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I have some more questions from the audience, but I'll take the last slide here, and then we go to the Q&A. So basically what we've seen since 10, 15 years ago, there was a lot of talks about control towers. Like Unilever, they had a control tower for procurement in Schaffhausen, Switzerland, and they have the logistic control tower in Katowice, Poland. And in between, they have the manufacturing all over the world connected. But as you see here, all those control towers were, disconnected and are siloed. What you see now within the bigger companies, but also mid-sized companies, they want to have an overall control tower end to end. So yeah, that's the need to create, to have this overall overview of this whole ecosystem, and then have your own resilience in different kind of ways. So this is where we're heading into, and this control. Maybe you don't need such a big building, but maybe it's more virtual than this, or sometimes you might outsource this. So this is where we go into. You see the multinational, they want to connect it with you see the logistics part into a more end-to-end environment. So that's what we see right now. So we have a few minutes left. So maybe Rob, to start there, what kind of visibility does TMS deliver? On what kind of level do you see visibility happening?
We are often only focused on the real-time visibility side of the story, but the shipment history visibility is also a key source, also in order to improve the next new real-time visibility. Okay? Yeah. So both sides of the story are crucial to focus on.
Yeah, and Michael, so what kind of data are you feeding into an ERP system? Is ERP feeding only TMS, or what kind of information is flooding back?
Inbound into the TMS is everything about master data, sales orders, purchase orders, and so on. So that's the inflow, and return back. Typically, it's really status information. So transport status converted into information on, let's say, delivery. In the ERP system, the object is very often a delivery node. And on that level, and in more advanced setups, even on material level. So position on the delivery node and the status to that. So checking the OTIF on time and in full is fed back into ERP systems typically, yeah. And freight costs, of course. So that's the second flow.
And Maurits, I get a question from ROI. Do you measure it? You said within 2 years, or is it also in absolute measures that you are calculating the savings of TMS?
Yeah, so that 2 years is an average, but it of course really depends on the starting position of a company. Like I mentioned, you encounter quite some companies that have no TMS whatsoever, and then it can be even shorter period as well.
Yeah. All right. we are on the hour almost. So next to this, we have an extra 30 minutes. So there will be 3 tables for each of the experts, so Alpega, Caroz, and Oracle. So you can have an extra conversation with the 3 of us, and I will be mingling. So I will be at one of the tables. So there's more to read. Downloading the PDF, the presentation. So there's the IT subway map. There's also information about Alpega, about Caroz, and also the Magic Quadrant by Gardner. And there is a new one just released this week, but I was not able to connect with it yet, but maybe we can. And another thing, if you are really looking for a TMS, there will be an IT demo day on the 17th of April at Schiphol in Amsterdam. So close by. So actually, there will be 4 hotel rooms: Alpega, Oracle, Caroz, and Uber Freight. They have their Transplace TMS and also a VPL solution. They couldn't make it on this webinar, but they will be there. So when you want to have a look and feel of a TMS, you are more than welcome if you are actually looking for a TMS. So if you are a cargo owner or a 3PL company, you are both happy to attend this event. So there are ways to let you know that you want to come. So there will be 4 rooms, and each room there will be a demo. So in 4 hours, you will have a very deep insight of the background of the vendor, but also more knowledge about the functionality. And probably you will be in a room with other companies looking for a system, so you can also learn from other companies in the same room looking for a TMS. So with this, I'd like to wrap up. Like I said, there will be an extra 30 minutes in the virtual lounge. But for now, Mikael, I want to thank you.
It was a pleasure. Many thanks for having me.
And Maurits, also thank you for joining and explaining Caroz.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having us, and I hope to see everybody at Schiphol in 2 weeks.
All right. And Rob, thank you for explaining your kind of the OTM solution.
Thanks, I highly appreciate it.
So like I said, I hope to see you at another webinar. The audience, thank you for the questions. If you have more questions, please join us in the virtual lounge, and then we will be there. If not, I hope to see you another webinar, or I would like to see you if you are really looking for a TMS on our IT Demo Day on April 17th in Amsterdam. Thanks for now, and see you later. Bye-bye.